Good evening, everybody. This is Robin with another edition of Horror Pop After Midnight. And my guest tonight he's a sound mixer, he's a writer, he's a director, Patrick Hogan. How's it going, Patrick?
It's going good. It's not dark here yet, so it might throw your audience off. Still light out here in sunny Southern California.
I know, I miss sunny California. I'm from there. I'm jealous already.
Now, it'll be pitch black in about an hour and a half, but right now we're good.
Oh yeah, it's dark here now because we're like 3 hours ahead of you.
Yeah.
Let's talk about your I call it a dark comedy, killer kung fu, horror short film. It's kind of a little bit of horror, a little bit. It's called Quiet Mom's Working. Tell me a little bit about that. Your wife, Krista, who stars as Ava in the film. So, how'd she become part of the film is the mom in the movie?
Well, so I've always been a filmmaker. I've made a lot of films, and last year, actually at a film festival called Film Quest, which you probably are familiar with.
Yes.
I was watching a comedy block, and I was like, man, comedies are so much fun to watch at horror film festivals because you've had so much dark and nasty and, kind of soul-sucking, and then it's kind of a nice release to laugh and have some fun at those festivals. And I thought, man, it'd be great to make a film in that spirit that's like, it's a bit dark, it's a bit twisted, but at the end it's actually, the main thing is you're supposed to laugh. It's supposed to be funny. And so I decided there at the festival to do that. And my wife, who I met at film school, and she was a theater major, had acted in some of my short films way back in the day, before we had kids. But then with kids and stuff, when I was making my films, usually she was busy taking care of the kids, right? We couldn't both be off having fun at the same time. So now they're grown up and able to fend for themselves. And I thought she'd gotten back into acting and was doing some commercial work and stuff. And I thought it would be fun to do a film together again after all these years. And so I was like, I'm going to come up with this comedy, and it's going to star Krista, my wife. And the first thing that popped in my head was, what if she was like this Dexter-type serial killer who is in her basement always trying to do her things, and then her kids keep interrupting her while she's trying, do her, what she does. And that was the genesis of it. And then I met an actor at FilmQuest, actually, who had my favorite feature film there, an actor named Shane Brady. And then I was at the final night, I was like, hey, I might be writing the script. You'd be perfect to play the villain. I mean, the victim in it. Would you be interested? He goes, yeah, show me the script when it's done. And that was kind of how it started. Then I wrote the script over the holiday break. It was a wonderful something. It was a great thing to write over the holidays. And then we eventually got it all together, and we filmed it in one weekend in our garage at our house with a bunch of friends as the cast.
Yeah, your wife nailed it as that role. And like you just said, I got the Dexter vibe of it too, how she had the victim like in saran wrap, knocked out, and she had all the tools, like what Dexter would do, and her facial expressions and how she moved her body around. You can tell she was having fun doing that role.
Yeah, I mean, she'll be the first to point out she's not actually a serial killer or any of the things, that you will see in the movie. Don't want to give away that there's a lot of twists and turns in it. It kind of, as I wrote it, kind of went in a different direction, and I don't like it when audiences get ahead of the movie, so I try to stay ahead of them. So she liked it. She's not any of those things, but she definitely had fun, and it was a fun twist on. It's kind of like playing into the stereotypes of a mom, but in a totally different way than you would normally see. And it's actually, I think, kind of a, I was like, this is kind of a feminist movie. It's about motherhood and how it can have all different looks, and you can't just pigeonhole moms into one category. Moms can do things themselves as well. They can have their own careers, so to speak.
Yeah, let's talk about the fight choreography. There was a lot of kung fu action in it too. Who did the fight choreography for the film?
Yeah, in addition, I'd never done an outright comedy before, and definitely never anything that was in a dark horror type vibe. And I'd never done a fight scene before as a director. I've done a lot of sound for fight scenes, like a lot. And so I like, boy, it'd be fun to have a fight in here. So I came up with a really fun way to have a kung fu fight. And I actually reached out to Don Lee, who's the stunt coordinator for Cobra Kai, which I do the sound for, the Netflix TV show. And he recommended someone to me, and I reached out to her, and she actually wasn't going to be in town when we were filming, but she recommended Tekla to me. And I met up with Tekla, who ended up being the choreographer and the stunt double for Mom. When you're making any low budget indie film, but especially a short film where money's tight, because usually the budget is whatever you can pull out of your own pocket, right? So I knew I wanted a stunt coordinator who would also be able to double for the Mom, and she was perfect. Not only was she an amazing choreographer and coordinator, worked with the actors to teach them the moves and came up with a lot of the fun stuff in there. I don't want to spoil anything, but she's competitive in a couple different martial arts areas. And one of them, I saw some videos of her competing, and I actually came up with an idea and wrote something into the final script that you see that was based specifically on a skill set that she has that we could exploit in the filmmaking. So not only did she come up with the actual choreography, but I incorporated some of the skills that she brought herself into the film, and it was really fun. It was really fun to do, and because it's a comedy, you can kind of go over the top and have fun with it. And that's what we did.
Yeah, I'm glad we're talking spoiler free. I like that too. I don't like spoiling for anybody that hasn't seen your film. Like I said, I really enjoyed it. I'm going to see it again at Horror Hound. I'm going to see how the audience reacts, and then I'll let you know what happens when I'm at.
Yeah, reach out to me. I'm really bummed that we can't be there in person. I wish we could clone ourselves and be at two festivals at one time. So I'll have to reach out to you and see if the audience. There's a couple key moments usually where they kind of gasp or laugh. And I'm curious to see how it plays. I think that's an audience that's gonna love this kind of film. So. Oh,
they will. If you go to a Horror Hound Film Festival, the fans for those films are a different breed, man. I'm going to tell you right now, they're going to love it. I mean, it's something different. I can just tell the audience is going to love it. And then, especially towards the ending, without any spoilers, that gave me a what the fuck twist at the end, how it all ended and played out. My jaw dropped, and I go, man, I didn't know he was going to go this way towards the end. It just blew my mind.
It's an important lesson for screenwriters in there, I think, about that, which is I did not know that was the ending myself. Like I said, it started from a place of this is a mom, and she has a body in her basement, and her kids keep interrupting her. And I didn't even know exactly what she was doing with the body and how it was going to play out. When I wrote the script, I just started with these characters, right? I had a premise of the character of Mom, the character of Dell, and the daughter and the son. And I started writing it and playing with it. And then it wasn't until I almost got to that point in the script, I was like, okay, so how is this going to end? And then suddenly the light bulb went off, and I went, oh, you know what? Oh, that's what this is about. Oh, and so I surprised myself as a writer. So if you can surprise yourself as a writer and not have it all preordained how it's going to go, and you're open to zigzagging, I think you can really catch an audience off guard in a way that they'll enjoy. Because I think the clues are there. In the final film, the clues are all there when you look back on it. But I think people are enjoy it and enjoy the fact that it has, it's twists. It's not just funny, but there's some twists and turns to it as well.
Yeah, I love the soundtrack, and I love that one song, that was played in the film. I kept on singing it in my head. Was "Motherfucker Let's Dance" song. That's a catchy tune, and it's still in my head right now.
Yeah, that was written specifically for the film. I had this because it's a comedy. I had, what if there's this crazy song that plays over the kung fu fight, which is often the case. But I was like, but what if it's literally just basically talking about what you're seeing? Like the song's like a real time play by play of what we've seen in this film. And so I reached out to some friends who were in a band called Hat Pin Panic, Jennifer and Chris, and I said, hey, would you be interested in writing an original song for this short film? And I've been the cameraman DP for a couple of their music videos. And so I kind of sent them some songs like, this is the kind of vein I'm going for. This is the kind of style, but, do your own thing. And then I gave them the script, and I said, and pull from the script, like make the story of the song be what you're. And they took word for word things that I described in the action lines of the script. They put those in lyrics. And then my other thing was, and then the big thing is, the chorus have to. I was like, well, in the film, she says, "Let's dance, motherfucker."
Yeah.
It's like, but it's hard to rhyme motherfucker, but it's easy to rhyme dance. So let's have the song. The chorus should be, "Motherfucker, let's dance," and they made it happen. And then when we cast the daughter in the film, Jillian, she's actually a singer as well. She's had a couple albums that have come out, and she's an amazing singer. And so when she was cast, I said, "Hey, do you want to sing the song?" So that's actually her singing the song. That's the actress who plays the daughter who's singing it. And then a buddy of mine who's a heavy metal guitarist, I got him to do the kind of heavy metal guitar over the top of it. And very happy with how it turned out.
Yeah, Jillian has a phenomenal voice. I mean, her voice is stuck in my head with that song. I loved her voice, man. I'm going to have to check out some of her work, man. I mean, she's got a phenomenal voice.
Yeah, I was like, oh, I'm going to bring a different kind of fan because, it's very kind of teen pop, oriented stuff that she's done. And so this was her. I was like, are you going to be okay with a song where you swear in it a lot?
Yeah.
She's very, very talented.
Yeah, Jillian was good as the daughter. I love how she played that role to the T. It was just all serious, It was like she was on spot on with the scene between her and her mother. It was just a typical mother and daughter, argument, during the whole situation in the basement. And I love how she played it off that she didn't know what was really going on down there.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the jokes, and I think it's a real thing, is, when you're a teenager, everything in your world is the most important thing ever in your life. Like, when you're 16, that's like the issues you're having with your friends and siblings and stuff is the most important stuff you've ever faced in your life. So everything else that's going on around you, you could care less, because all that matters is the drama in your own life. And so that was the humor of it. And comedy plays best when the actors are playing it serious, right? So it's a real, situation between a mother and a daughter. But then the context and where it happens is what, makes it so hopefully really funny.
I was laughing at that scene between Jillian and your wife. I couldn't stop laughing. It was just hilarious. And then the look on the actor who played Dale, he's sitting there like having that weird look going, okay, I'm in trouble. And it's like, hey, what about me? Which was laughing, which cracked me up as too.
Yeah.
So, how you ended and all that? Well, have you ever thought about doing a feature of it, or maybe like a sequel to see what's in store for Mother next?
I haven't. I mean, obviously a feature would need like that, as with most short films, that premise doesn't run an hour and a half. We'd have to explore and see where it goes after that. I mean, sure. I mean, if anybody out there has the money and would like to see this turned into a feature, I am available. Reach out. So, I mean, there's no plans to make it a feature right now, but sure. I mean, I get that. I get that asked with every short film. Is this? And usually when I make a short film, I'm making it to be a short film. Like I haven't yet taken any of my feature scripts and filmed a portion of it as a short. I know a lot of people do that. I haven't. So all these were written as short films. But if there was an interest in it, I definitely could see. But to me, it's all about the characters. So I think these characters would be great characters for a feature film. So maybe someday, never say never.
Hey, I think so, because it was great, because I would love to see more of the mother. I mean, she's just good. And then another film I saw of yours was Killing Time, which, oh my gosh, Maggie McAllister, man, she nailed that role, man. That role was made for her in that film. Was she your ideal actress for that role?
Yeah, I mean, so what happened with Killing Time? Killing Time was made early in the pandemic. In fact, as far as I know, we were the first short film to get a SAG contract to film. Because literally up until the day before we were filming, I was calling SAG saying, "Hey, are we approved? Can we go? Are we approved?" And they were like, "Well, we're just waiting for the final rulings to be put in place so that we can begin authoring productions to go ahead." So it was basically just the pandemic had hit. We were all sitting at home. My wife wasn't working. I was working. We were both unemployed, right? Because everything had shut down. And we were like, well, if we're just sitting here, let's make a film. And I actually had, before the pandemic, I was about to go in pre-production on a short film based on the same idea, but in a different genre. It was like a gumshoe detective thing, sci-fi, basically the same storyline, but a little different. And then the pandemic hit, and so as I was sitting there, I was like, boy, is there a way to turn this into something that could work? And the requirements at the time, remember, you had to stay 6 feet away from each other, and you had to wear a mask, and there are all these requirements. And I thought, well, the horror genre, and woman alone in her house with a masked psycho killer, that kind of ticks off all the requirements. It's only 2 people. One of them is masked, so it's safe. And then I came up with the character of the daughter and the woman's father, and I'm like, it's not a significant other, so it makes sense that they would just walk in and have a conversation from across the room and never actually, walk up and get close to each other. So I converted the story into a kind of, it's sci-fi, but it's hidden within a horror film, kind of the horror film genre, and it leans into a lot of the horror tropes to kind of set you up, and then kind of like the Quiet Mom's working. I guess I do this a lot. Then it has the twist.
It sure did. And
so that's kind of how I got by. Yeah, but to get back to your question, sorry, I never got. A friend of ours, he plays the dad, and we filmed it at his house. And then his wife Sharon is a casting director up at Big Bear, and she actually found Maggie and knew Maggie. And I met with Maggie, and I didn't do auditions per se, but I met with Maggie, talked about the role, we read through it, and I was like, wow, she's, then I looked at her tape and what she had done, and it's like, wow, she's phenomenal. And yeah, she knocked it out of the park.
She did. By following her through that whole movie, she kept me on the edge of my seat, especially with the gripping score by Christy Carew. That score was awesome, man. It felt like the character of the story with Maggie in it. That's what kept me on the edge of my seat. The music and what's going to happen to her in the film, which really got my attention.
Yeah. In horror films especially, score is really important. There's a classic story of when John Carpenter first played Halloween. They didn't have the music in it, and the studio people or the financiers were ready to pull the plug on the whole thing. Said that, oh man, we got a dog. And he was like, no, you haven't heard the score yet. Let me get the music in, and then play for it one more time. And then, of course, it became the most successful horror movie of all time. And I've worked with Christy a couple times on a couple different projects. And she really did a good job of helping set up the scares and the tension of it. Since it's basically just a woman by herself in a house for the first half of the film, the score is what helps kind of give the audience that sense of creeping dread that things aren't going to go well for her.
Yeah, the whole short gave me a / Twilight Zone / Black Mirror feel to it. It felt like I was watching either a Twilight Zone or a Black Mirror episode. It had that vibe to it with all the extra horror stuff you were adding into it, which made it a fun short.
Yeah, I've had the short before that got compared to Black Mirror as well, and I'll always take comparison to Black Mirror. That's a high compliment, so thank you, because I think Black Mirror is just amazing.
Also, I kind of got it was kind of like a, how do you say it, a like a tragic love story too, a little bit. It's kind of tragic what you were feeling through Maggie's character a little bit, between her and her father. It just felt like that tragic love story between them that negative. They're right close to each other, but not really into each other.
Yeah. I mean, the idea in the original script, it was a woman and her spouse, and in this one, it's a woman and her daughter, and then her father. But both the concept in both versions was how far would someone be willing to go to protect the people they love? Like what would you do to protect, the people that are close to you? And, some people were like, wow, that was actually a very happy ending. And other people were like, wow, that was a very tragic ending. I was like, oh, yeah, it's kind of both. It's very tragic for one character and very happy for another. Without trying to spoil it for those who hopefully will go. It's available. Killing Time is available to watch on YouTube, so go check it out. Let me know what you think.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. Like I said, I love Maggie's character. Have you ever thought about doing some more shorts on that? Based off the Killing Time, not with Maggie's character, but other scenarios.
I haven't. Oh, that would be very interesting. I actually, Killing Time is when it's a short, but I have outlined a feature version because a couple people were like, wow, this would be really cool as a feature. And I came up with an idea to flesh it out and make it a feature film. So I do have I haven't written it, but I do have an outline for how Killing Time would play as a full feature film. Where some of the twists and turns in it are kind of done differently because obviously you got to keep the audience engaged for an hour and a half to 2 hours, not just 15 minutes. But I haven't thought about it as an anthology series. I mean, that would be kind of fun. In a way, Killing Time and Quiet Moms Working both touch on motherhood, which I didn't intend to do, but they did. So maybe I could come up with maybe I could make a feature film out of a bunch of short films, twisted takes on motherhood. I got 2 of them done already.
Hey,
so I'm pretty close.
That would work. I would still watch it. I love anthologies where it has a certain theme to them. I like how you put the story. You'll have the main characters in it, but it goes to all these little anthology stories. I love those. Those are one of my faves besides found footage films. I love found footage films.
Yeah. I mean, found footage films are great because they're based solely on creativity, because clearly you're doing them because you don't have a budget. You're not going to have all the slick production value. So the idea is how do you creatively tell a story? Some of them are just so incredibly interesting and creative. But I haven't tackled that yet. That's a whole nother found footage. But anthology, maybe if I do a couple more short films, then I'll be able to just release my own feature based on all my short films put together as one.
So, you have any other projects you doing next?
Well, last year, actually, while I was in pre-production on Quiet Moms Working, I wrote a feature script that's based on a book. It's a true story. It's a drama. It's not in the genre at all. So I was born and partially raised on the island of Guam. My parents are from Ohio, but they flew to Guam in the 60s, and I was born there and raised there, graduated from high school there, and worked there for many years after college before I moved to LA. So Guam is very near and dear to my heart. That's home. And a woman wrote a book about her experience as an adult, finding out that her dad, who had abandoned her when she was little, was from the island of Guam and had flown back there after he abandoned her. And so as an adult in her 30s, she flew back to Guam to find out what had happened to him. And so it's kind of a tale of trying to find her father, but at the same time kind of discovering herself and who she is, and meeting family members and finding where she comes from, which she didn't know. So it's a drama, and it's a great little story. And I thought I was uniquely situated to make this film, being as that I'm a filmmaker and a writer, but I'm also from Guam. So I was able to bring a lot of authenticity to it. And so I wrote that, and, the producers have it now. We're, trying to get it set up, and, things take forever. Hoping by now it would have been ready to go, and it isn't, but, you keep plugging away at it. So we did that. And that was basically outside of Quiet Moms Working. That was my main emphasis last year creatively. But while that's now while I'm waiting for the producers on that to kind of get that all set up, I have I have a TV pilot that I'm toying with shooting later this year because I love it so much. It's in the genre. It's a TV show about the log line is a hospice nurse who has a knack for helping people on death's door is unaware that she is actually 3,000 years old and, unlike her patients, unable to die. So it's about a woman who's immortal who works as a hospice nurse.
Wow.
So kind of a fantasy. One person asked me, like, how would you pitch it? And it's like Highlander meets Grey's Anatomy. If you'd like to watch that show, I'm ready to make that show.
That would be so wild. I would so watch that. And that person is right. Highlander, meets, like Ghost Whisperer, kind of too, a little bit in a hospice. Dude, that would be a wild show. People would watch that.
Yeah, so I'm toying with, I haven't got any traction from a script, so I'm toying with, moving up from a short and doing something bigger. So if the Island Calls, which is the Guam project, doesn't happen, I might do this pilot. But then also outside of all that, I have another short film, a short film, maybe like 5 or 6 minutes long. I don't want to give this one away because it has a very unique premise and hook to it. It's the type of it's a short film I've never seen done before, and it's very horror because it's about an alien invasion. Like I said, about 5 or 6 minutes long, and it's something I haven't seen, and I think festivals would love it. So I might try to sneak that in at some point this summer as well. It would just be like a quick little weekend shoot, but I'm really excited about it. 'Cause like I said, it's the type. It very rarely do you go to festivals and see things you're like, wow, I've never seen anything like. I love going to film festivals, and you'll see a lot of really well-made stuff, but very rarely do you go, wow, that's something I've never seen before. And I think I got that idea, so we'll see. So fingers crossed that happens as well.
That's cool.
So I'm hoping 2 of those things happen this year.
That's cool. Aliens involved, you can count me in. I love watching stuff like that. Like, I don't care if it's an alien feature film or an alien short film, anything that involves like aliens and like urban legends, I am sold.
So hopefully it'll be hopefully we'll be able to make this year, and starting next fall or a year from now, it'll be out there for people to see. Fingers crossed. So those are the 3 big things I've been working on, and hopefully a couple of them happen this year. We'll see.
That's pretty cool. That drama film seems pretty good about Guam. I mean, besides horror's, my number 1 genre, but I like to watch other genres as well. But that sounds like a very interesting film I'd definitely check out too. You're also a sound mixer. How'd you get involved with that? And you did like you said, you did Cobra Kai. How'd you get on doing the sound for Cobra Kai? And then you did some other great stuff too.
Yeah. So I'm actually, I think in the indie world there's usually just one person, but I'm actually the supervising sound editor. And then I have a person who does the mixing when I work for network TV. It's usually a team of about 10 people total. And I just, I went to film school, and I kind of fell into sound while I was there. I was really good at it. I worked in radio a little bit when I was in high school as a part-time job. So I guess I had a little bit of, and I kind of dabbled for a lot. I wasn't very good, but I played drums in a band. So I had a little bit of musical knowledge, a little bit of sound production knowledge from the radio days. And so when I got into film school, I kind of started doing sound on people's films. And my mentor, who was teaching the class on sound at film school, kind of said, you're really good at this. And before I graduated from film school, people were paying me money to do the sound on their films. So I was like, wow, I'm not even out of film school yet, and people are paying me money. So not too long after being out of film school, I found myself at an entry-level union position here in LA. And over a 10-year period, I worked my way up from building shelves and loading sound for the editors, and then I would sit in and watch them work, and kind of the old school apprentice style, start at the bottom and work your way up. And I started supervising in 2004, and by 2012, I was pretty much supervising full time. And when Cobra Kai started, it was just a small show on YouTube Red. No one knew what it was. It was very small, and I had just been doing a show for CW, and it got canceled. And my boss called me and said, "Hey, I hear you're available." I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Hey, we're doing this little show for YouTube Red." And I was like, "What's that?" He goes, "I don't know. It's a new, everybody's streaming now." He says, "It's called Cobra Kai." And I was like, "You mean like Karate Kid Cobra Kai?" He goes, "I don't know." And I was like, "Especially if it's Cobra Kai from Karate Kid, count me in." And I got the pilot script, and I remember before I read it, I was like, "Please be good, please be good," because Karate Kid was, I'm a kid of the '80s, right? So the Karate Kid was, one of my movies growing up. And I read the script, and I was like, "Oh my goodness, they got it! This is so good." And so I started on season 1 as the sound supervisor, and we did the first 2 seasons. And people who were fans of it were fans of it, but it wasn't very big. Then YouTube Red got out of making original productions, and so they sold season 3, which we completed just before the pandemic hit. They sold the series to Netflix. And then that summer, as everybody was sitting at home with nothing to watch, Netflix re-streamed or redropped or whatever you call it, the first 2 seasons onto Netflix. And now suddenly it went from being on a very niche little, YouTube Red that had very few subscribers to the largest streaming service in the world. And boom, it took off. And right now I just began work a little bit. We're not mixing for a bit. So Cobra Kai fans, it's not going to come out for a while yet. Don't get too crazy yet. But we just began a little bit of the work on the final season, season 6 of the show. It's been a great run. Great people.
Hey, I can't wait to see, the final season, of Cobra Kai. I'm like you. I'm an '80s kid. I saw those great films too. Like the Karate Kid Part 2. I saw all that too. I'm like you. I'm from the same generation as you. What's your thoughts on the new Karate Kid film that's coming out with Ralph Macchio, Jackie Chan? I mean, they're getting a great cast for that film.
Yeah, I mean, that's we're not involved in that, so I don't know anything about it. I have no inside info, but I mean, I really think it speaks to the show Cobra Kai. I mean, I don't know if a new Karate Kid film gets made without that groundswell of support of the Cobra Kai series. So I don't think the storylines connect. I don't think there's any connection between them. But I do think that the new Karate Kid movie owes its life to Cobra Kai, and I'm sure the fans of Cobra Kai are gonna be out there in the theaters watching it. So, I'll be out there in the theater watching it with them to see what they did. So I'm excited to see what they're doing with the new movie, especially with Ralph being involved, because I think the first one with Jackie Chan was just like a reboot with all new characters. So I'm curious to see how they combine the two worlds. I'm sure they have some plan in place. So I'm excited to see it.
Oh, I am too. I'm stoked. I'll be in that theater as well. I like anything, that does with, involves the Karate Kid. But yeah, it's going to be fun. So where can everybody find you on social media to see what you're going to be doing next?
Well, so our website for our company, our production company, lists all the movies that we've made and where you can see them. Some are available on YouTube for free. Some are on Tubi. Quiet Mom's Working is the new one, so it's not out yet. And we have another one, Shatter the Glass, that we also made last year. Those 2 short films aren't available to the general public yet because they're still doing film festivals, and so you can't be out in public yet with them. But the rest of them can all be seen for free, actually. And the links to all of the places where you can see them are on our website, which is jhdanger.com. So www.jh, as in John Hogg, danger.com. And you can find me on Instagram at @PPatrickHogan. And I always on Instagram are sharing, links to where we're playing and stupid quotes and all the pictures of where we're at, and occasionally behind the scenes photos if they don't spoil anything. So yeah, P. Patrick Hogan at Instagram is my social media, and JH Danger is the website where you can find out all the info on where to see the films, either film festival screenings or the ones that are available to stream for free, all that info will be there.
All right. Thank you for coming on and spending some time with me on the show tonight.
Hey, thank you. I really appreciate it. I had a lot of fun talking about it, and I'm glad that people are appreciating the film and kind of getting what it's going for, and laughing. So thank you very much.
All right. And everybody, thank you for listening to Horror Pop After Midnight. Have a great